Fossil fuels. You probably heard this issue before, and also most likely have heard a side of the debate before, but have you heard it all? There's more on the fossil fuels ethical issue than what it looks like on the surface. The history of this issue can be traced to very long ago, and many people have seen this debate for years. For example, in 1924, the government made a federal law to control oil pollution. The two people making wind turbines to create one renewable energy, and people building dams to make water energy instead of like fossil fuels, and people also made solar energy, and petroleum even became the most used fossil fuel in the US in 1950. President Carter even made a speech about fossil fuels in 1977. As you can see, many people actually are trying to invent renewable energy sources and getting involved in the situation. The first side of the issue is the one that gets shared around more. Fossil fuels are bad for the environment in particular. You may have heard about global warming and how that is linked to fossil fuel emissions, and this is how it happens. Fossil fuels get burned and release CO2 emissions. CO2 is known for trapping heat, and huge amounts of CO2 gets released from fossil fuels. This CO2 traps heat in the atmosphere and it warms up the earth, leading to global warming or climate change. Over 75% of the Earth's greenhouse gas are emissions from fossil fuels, and 90% of carbon dioxide emissions are from fossil fuels too. Fossil fuels have other downsides like being non-renewables, which means there's a limited amount on like trees and stuff. And also, oil can damage the ocean. Machines and factories, they take up space. 23 billion tons of CO2 gets released into the sky each year. Many ecosystems are suffering from climate change and heat, stuff like that. Many companies are developing renewable energy to replace fossil fuels and energy fuels that don't release emissions. And yet, there's still an opposing side, and they state fossil fuels cannot be replaced by renewables. Fossil fuels generate a lot of energy, and that is the core reason why they cannot be replaced. Renewable energy can never produce as much energy as fossil fuels, and only fossil fuels can meet the energy demands. Fossil fuels are the energy that powers your home, the city, and a lot of the nation's energy. The Biden administration is also trying to get OPEC to pump more oil to provide price relief. The fossil fuels, oil, coal, and natural gas, give the humans a lot of energy in supplying 81% of US energy demand in 2020. Basically, fossil fuels cannot be replaced because they are very important to the economy and they meet energy demands. Coal can also help more than harm. It is helping Midwest and like other places against electricity shortages. Some people even say that fossil fuels do little impact on climate change. Climate change is cyclical, says people. This means the Earth is just warming up by itself, and fossil fuel emissions barely change it. In conclusion, there is a side that fossil fuels are bad for the Earth and cause climate change. Then there's another side that states fossil fuels are very important to the economy, and removing them will cause crisis since renewable energy can never be like fossil fuels. Since both sides are equally reasonable, the debate shall still go on, and people shall invent new fuel sources and come up with some new ideas.